What's up, everybody? I want to talk to you about cause and effect. Cause and effect is one of those principles in this world that is indifferent. It is extremely indifferent about your facts, your opinions, your feelings, your emotions. It's one of probably the most, it's not a difficult principle to understand, but once you completely understand it, it becomes very it becomes very real. And I say real in the sense is because you realize that nobody is going to necessarily save you. Nobody is going to save you. Essentially, every action that you take, every word that you speak, everything that you do falls back at you, right? Every action, every word produces fruit. You reap what you sow. I want you guys to understand this concept that everybody is like a metaphysical or metaphorical farmer. And you know how you plant a seed? You plant an apple seed, the tree grows up into become an apple tree. You plant a mango seed, every seed, that seed will become a mango tree. So your actions, your thoughts, your words are like seeds. And whatever you plant, it would become, it would produce fruits of your actions. So this is especially for the men to understand that nobody is going to save you. Nobody. Nobody is entitled to save you. The universe is not entitled to give you anything at all. The creator of the universe, some people you call it God, he's not going to save you. What it is based on your actions, based on what you do, you save yourself. If you understand how this world works, if you understand the environment that you live in, all you have to do is act accordingly in order to reap the benefits of your actions, reap the fruits of your actions. And once you understand this, it becomes a sobering moment, a moment of clarity that everything falls on you. Everything falls upon you. And let's examine this for a second. When you go to the gym and you exercise, you're doing push-ups, you're doing squats, you're bench pressing, is God in the picture? He's not there. It's all you. The muscles that you've earned, the six-pack, the biceps, right? Your hamstrings. That is because of the result of your effort and your work. God is not in the picture. The only thing the Creator does is allows you to exist. That is it. If you believe in the Creator, that is all He does. Allows you to exist. But everything else, that is a product and result of your effort. The work that you put in, right? Think about it like this. If you want a desired outcome, right? If you want a desired output and a result, you gotta match it with the proper input. You wanted muscles in the gym. That is the outcome. That is the result. You have to put in the time, discipline, and effort required in order to gain the muscle. This is cause and effect. It's very simple, right? So, in order to get a desired effect, your actions must match in order to produce the fruit that you want. You see? So everything falls upon you. When you learn how to drive a car, the Creator is not in that. It's all you. Your interests, your your enthusiasm about driving a car, you driving the steering wheel, you pressing the gas, you hitting the clutch, changing the gears, that is all you. All those practices that you had, all those long hours you put in, right? The defensive drivings that you put in, that was all you. Understand this, right? Understand that. The only thing that the Creator does is allow you to exist in order to fulfill your goals. That is it. And the reason why the Creator will not help you, the Creator will not help you. The reason why, because I want you to understand, cause and effect is so perfect. This law or this principle is so perfect. People are already being judged for their actions. I want you to understand that. People are already being judged for their actions and their words. Right? I'll give you an example. Your life right now is a product of all the decisions you've made in the past. All the actions that you've took, all the words that you've said is a result of what you've done in the past. Today, right now, and look at your current life. Every action that you took led you to this exact moment right here, right now. So if you're not, and this is a very hard saying, if your life is not what it wants to be, if your life doesn't look like the way you planned it out to be, is because there's somewhere along the path of existence of your life, you probably didn't take the right course of action, right? There's probably a mistake that you've made. There's probably several mistakes that you've made, right? You say you want one thing, but your actions says something completely different. Once you realize that everybody is a hypocrite. This is tough. I'm telling you, you say you want one thing. You say you want to become a doctor, but you've never put in the work to become a doctor. That makes you a hypocrite. This is especially for the men. And I say this is for the men, so you can understand the works of these hands right here. These hands right here allows you to work. Right? If you say you want one thing and you don't go about, if you don't put in the proper action, the proper time, the proper hours to actually at least put you in the position to get what you want. Therefore, the laws of cause and effect proves that you're hypocritical. If you want a desired output, you have to put in the proper input. Right? So, like I said before, nobody is going to save you. You have to save yourself. How do you save yourself? With your intellect, with wisdom, with gaining knowledge and understanding, with effort, diligence, consistency, right? These are the tools that allow you to shape your life the way you want to shape your life, right? Cause and effect does not negate free will. It doesn't. It doesn't negate free will. What it does is reveals who you truly are. That's what cause and effect does. It reveals who you truly are because the proof is in the pudding. The fruit is the product of the tree. And you are that metaphysical tree. You are that tree of life that produces the fruit. Your actions. Right? So, If your life sucks, it's because you've taken certain actions that caused it to suck. Your parents took certain actions that caused it to suck, right? Maybe your parents took horrible actions, right? Your parents weren't that educated. Your parents weren't, I don't know, they weren't diligent enough. And then when they created you, they passed on that same traits in you, and you carried that forward, not knowing that you were conditioned, you were educated by your parents. You've learned and observed their actions, and you're repeating that mistake right now instead of changing it. Everything, I'm telling you, everything is precise. There's no escaping this law. There's no escaping it whatsoever. So, let's get into it. I know I've monologued for a bit, but I just want people to understand how. Let's put it this way. There are certain people in this world that are winning, right? Cause and effect is indifferent. It doesn't care if you're good. It doesn't care if you're bad. I'm going to give you an example. The sun shines for the good and the bad. The rain falls on the good and the bad. The rain doesn't fall only on the good people and neglect bad people. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. The sun, the rain, the seasons are felt by the good and the bad. The reason why evil is present in this world is because simply evil people are outworking good people. Because they understand, whether they understand the principles of cause and effect or not, they're using it to their advantage. They're being active participants in life rather than being passive. They're getting where they want to be because they're taking actions. That's the reason why they're winning. That's the reason why evil is winning. And the reason why good people are where they are. Because evil people are more active and good people are more passive. Remember, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Every seed that you plant is going to produce fruit. Even the seed that you think you don't plant is a seed in itself, right? You plant nothing, you get nothing. You plant hard work, you will reap hard work. You want to become a musician, you put in those long hours of planting, you will become a musician. That's how it is. That's how it is. It is indifferent of your your opinions, your feelings, your emotional states. It is very indifferent. All it cares about is the seeds that you plant. And in due time, when you plant the seed, you water the seed, eventually it will produce fruit. I want the men to understand this. Especially black men. I want you to understand this. You cannot be passive in life. You can't. You cannot. You can't wait for you can't wait for things to happen necessarily. Because you have autonomy. You have free will. You gotta plant. You gotta move. You gotta be active. You got to be. I wish I had known this principle from a young age, but I didn't. But it's not too late. This is what I'm trying to tell you, right? So we're going to get into this. Cause and effect. An immutable law of existence. The universe is governed by laws as ancient and unyielding as time itself. One of the most profound being the law of cause and effect. This is not merely a philosophical notion, but a universal principle that permeates every facet of existence. You reap what you sow. Every action you take, every decision you make sets in motion a chain of events that will inevitably come full circle. This is not a matter of if, but when. Understand, every fruit, right? Every seed blooms and matures in different time period, right? For instance, the amount of time it would take a mango to blossom into a tree is probably different in the amount of time it would take a strawberry to be seen, right? Every fruit has their different time period of when they will mature. So you got to understand every action, right? Every action takes different time periods to mature. Some actions are immediate, right? You feel the repercussions and the consequences immediate. Some actions that you take, they may produce fruit in a year, 2 years, 10 years, right? Some actions that you take, right, can become fruitful in maybe 100 years. We don't know. Like the actions that our ancestors took, they're being, look at the world today. The world is not a mistake. The world is not a mistake. The world is the way it is because of all the actions that were taken in the past that led to the conditions of today. It's not a mistake. Some of us are still feeling the effects of certain actions that was taken 300 years ago, 400 years ago, 500 years ago. So it's not a mistake, right? Now, it's not a matter of if, but when. Understand this. We live in a world where many believe they can escape the consequences of their actions, that by sheer will or deception, they can sidestep the repercussions. Yet, this belief is nothing more than a delusion. This is the essence of accountability, ownership, responsibility for one's life. We are not victims of fate. We are the architects of our own destiny, the products of our choices, both those we have made and those made for us. Understand that. Both of those we have made and those made for us. Right? Now, this is for the women. Right? Time and time again, you see how difficult it is when you become a single mother. You know the stress it produces on your body. You have no help, right? But cause and effect, you are not a victim because you slept with that man. You chose to sleep with that man. You chose to not get married. You chose to not go to school, right? You chose all of these things. So now the difficulty, right, that you're facing is a direct correlation and causation of the actions that you've taken. I'm telling you, cause and effect is truly indifferent, right? That child is the fruit. That child is the fruit because that man planted his seed inside of you. Giving birth is one of the prime examples of you reap what you sow. It's the prime example of how we are the tree of life, so to speak, right? Metaphysically speaking, we are the tree of life. The man plants his seed inside the woman. The woman is likened to be like the earth. And then the baby is the fruit, the result of man and woman coming together. That is one of the prime examples of, cause and effect. It's tough. So And that's the thing about cause and effect. Nobody is a victim per se. The only tragedy is that we didn't know about it before. That is the only tragedy, right? The ignorance that we had before, that is the only tragedy. But now that we have knowledge, you realize you got to think before you move. You got to think before you act, right? So, we are not victims of fate. We are the architects of our own destiny, the products of our choices, both those we have made and those made for us. Understand, our parents took certain actions that put us in certain positions, right? And now we have to work from where our parents left off. Think of it as a relay race, right? I'm running the race of life. I'm trying the best that I can, right? To put myself in the best position. The minute I have kids, it's like I pass the baton to them. And they have to continue their journey and their life, right? So whatever I do affects them. If I didn't put myself in the best position possible, you think my children are going to be in the same position? You think they're going to be in a better position? No. They're going to be in the position where I put them in. You see that? So the decisions of our ancestors also led to the decisions that we are in here today. Understand that, right? Consider the simple fact of eating. When you consume food, your body must process it, breaking it down, extracting nutrients, and expelling waste. If you eat something harmful, your body will react, perhaps with pain, illness, or worse. This is a direct, unambiguous consequence of your choice. You cannot ingest poison and expect health. The input determines the output. The law extends beyond the physical to the moral and spiritual realms. Hurt someone and they will bleed, either physically or emotionally. The pain you inflict will fester, not just in them, but in you as guilt, regret, or divine retribution. Conversely, acts of kindness and compassion sow seeds of goodwill and love, which eventually returns to you in kind. Nature itself is a testament of this principle. When the sun draws near and the rain comes, flowers bloom and life flourishes. In contrast, when the sun retreats and winter arrives, the world becomes barren and cold. The seasons are not arbitrary. They are a result of Earth's position relative to the sun. Similarly, plant an apple seed, and with proper care, it will grow into an apple tree. Expecting an orange tree from an apple seed is not just foolish, it's impossible. The output will always match the input. The law is immutable. That girl that you like and you've never approached her, you're never going to get her. If you don't take action, you're never going to get her. That job that you wanted, right? That job that you wanted, if you don't take actions, you're never going to put yourself in the position to actually get it. Cause and effect, I'm telling you, the input must match the output. The output that you want, your dreams, your desires, your goals, right, has to be matched by the input. What you put in, the hard work, the effort, the long hours, right, the pain and struggle, that's the long hours that you put in, right, it will get you somewhere. Is it enough to match the output? I don't know. But the output, the input must match the output. Right? That guy that you wanted, right? That guy that you wanted, if you never approach him, you're never going to get him. If you never do anything at all Don't expect him to approach you or come to you. This is what cause and effect does. Actions determine everything with cause and effect. Actions, not intentions, not thoughts, actions. Right? Actions. You can have a desire, but if you don't have actions behind your desires, you're never going to fulfill your desires. You're never going to fulfill it. And this is why I said you are a conscious being that have free will. Nobody is going to work for you. Nobody is going to put in the work for you. You got to put in the work for yourself. This is why I said God is not going to save you. He is a judge. He's just watching you, right? He's just like, okay, what you going to do today? What are you going to do today? And I'm going to explain this, right? I'm going to explain this, that the Creator is not going to help you. The Creator has given you talents and abilities already. You have to increase your talents, right? You have to grow and develop, right? And multiply your talents. Increase your talents. Everybody has a skill, whether it's athletic skills, whether it's intellect skills, whether it's artistic skills, everybody has a skill. But you have to develop your skill, right? You are a seed that needs to grow into a tree. That's what spiritual development is all about. That's what spiritual development is all about. You are a seed, literally. And when your parents push you out, when you was birthed into this world, this is when you grow. This is when you start to develop, right? This is when you start to mature. And the talents that you have, if you do not develop them, you're never going to reap the benefits of your own skills. This is tough. This is tough. This is tough. This is tough, I'm telling you. Because you realize that everything is on you. Everything is on you. Cause and effect and equivalent exchange. Cause and effect and equivalent exchange are deeply connected principles that govern your actions and their consequences. When we combine these two ideas, it becomes clear every cause or action produces an effect or consequence, and that effect must be balanced with something of equal value. This creates a system of reciprocity where no action exists in isolation. Every decision is inherently linked to a result, and the balance between them is essential to maintain harmony. Take, for example, working hard to achieve your goal. The effort you put in, whether it's time, energy, or personal sacrifice, is the price you pay. The cause, your hard work, leads to the effect, achievement, and the reward must be equal to the effort. Ensures that the process remains balanced. On the other hand, neglect, laziness, or destructive behavior will also produce consequences that reflect those choices. The principle of equivalent exchange emphasizes fairness and accountability, underscoring that no action comes without a price. Every choice carries its weight, and the results are shaped by the energy and effort you invest. In this way, both principles highlight the natural order of life. Actions lead to results, and those results are directly tied to the energy or effort you put in. This balance of give and take is what keeps life in harmony, reinforcing the interconnectedness of all things. As for free will, it's important to remember that while we are free to desire and choose our actions, we will not be free from the consequences that follow. Free will grants us the freedom to choose, right? Free will grants us the freedom to choose, but every choice comes with an inevitable outcome. Free will is the ability to choose while being bound by the natural laws of cause and effect. You are free to act, but the aftermath, the results, and consequences, you must deal with it. You're free to touch fire, but you are not free from getting burned. Understand that. This is how free will and cause and effect works. You can desire to touch fire, and if you do touch fire, you will get burned. Cause and effect. This is where the concept of cause and effect and equivalent exchange align perfectly. You can decide what to do, but the outcome will always reflect the price paid for that decision. Every choice and action will bear fruit, whether bitter or sweet, depends entirely on what is sown, what you plant, right? Now, let's get into different types of cause and effect, right? Linear cause and effect, a time-bound sequence, right? A direct chronological chain where one event leads to another in a straightforward motion. The simplest and most intuitive form of causality. Follows a clear this, then that progression. Forms the basis of scientific inquiry and historical analysis. Examples: cause, a person strikes a match. Effect, the flame ignites. Cause, a car runs out of fuel. Effect, the engine ceases to function. Personal cause and effect, individual will. The direct relationship between an individual's choices, actions, and their consequences, rooted in personal agency and decision making, can be influenced or redirected by the individual, tied to responsibility, accountability, and self-determination. Examples: cause, a student dedicates time to studying each night. Effect, they achieve high grades on their exams. Cause, a person consumes unhealthy food and neglects exercise. Effect, they develop health issues such as obesity and diabetes. I'll give you another one. You cheat on your girlfriend. You cheat on your spouse. That's the cause. Effect, right? They may leave. They may file for divorce. They may, they might forgive you, but they won't trust you any longer because your actions led to the effect of them not wanting to be with you or them having, trust issues. Effect. Pretty simple, right? External cause and effect. Forces beyond individual control. Events shaped by external forces outside personal influence. Operates independently of the individual's will. Includes natural disasters, economic shifts, societal structures. Requires adaptation rather than control. Understand, you're living in a world with 8 billion people, and they have their own individual will, and they themselves, every action that they take bears fruit, right? So you're living in a world where cause and effect is, it's an interconnected web, right? Guess what? If a drunk driver a person that's drunk, if he gets inside a car and he hits somebody, that person can go up in the hospital. And it's not even the person's fault that they got hit. It's because of the drunk driver. So you got to understand that every action produces a fruit. A random person can mess me up, right? Unfortunately, that's what happens all the time. People get stray bullets. People get caught in the crossfires. People get dragged into arguments, right? Because of external cause and effect, right? Natural disasters happen and it's going to affect you. You got a flood, right? What happens? Cause is the flood. Effect, your house gets swept away. Understand this. Example, a hurricane strikes a coastal town. Effect, homes are destroyed and residents are forced to evacuate. Cause, a sudden economic recession occurs. Effect, mass layoff leaves many unemployed regardless of their job performance. Right? So, sometimes the actions of people in government, they can mess up the whole country. Cause and effect. The decisions that they make, the irresponsibility in their policies, right? The irresponsibility in economic, irresponsibilities of mass spending, right? Of printing massive amounts of dollars can lead to inflation, can lead to unemployment, recessions, all of these things that the people in our government, if you have a corrupt government, right, is going to affect the people. It don't matter if you're good or bad. It's going to affect the people. Cause and effect. This is one of my favorites. Collective cause and effect. The power of group will. Outcomes resulting from the collective actions and decisions of group. Strength in numbers. Unified actions lead to change. Can shape social, political, and environmental landscapes. Responsibility is distributed rather than individual. I love this part, right? Because there are certain goals that you have, right? Certain dreams that you have are probably too big for you. They're probably too big. The output is way too big and the input is way too minimal. If you get help, if you get other people to help you, right? Now you have more power. More power generates more work, right? It becomes more efficient to realize your dreams because you have other people. I'll give you a perfect example. If I'm lifting a weight that's too much for me to handle by myself, if I get another person, we have more power. More power generates more energy, more work, more force. Now we're able to lift up that heavy weight. Do you understand? It becomes easier. So, if you have a dream that's too big for you, if you get help, now that dream becomes easier to realize because you just have more energy. You just have more hands helping you, right? And this is what I love about this effect too, because it teaches us we do not have to be individualistic. We do not have to practice individualism, right? We can practice collectivism, right? We can practice teamwork. We can practice cooperation, right? Let's give you some examples, right? Cause. A neighborhood unites to restore a polluted park. Effect. The park becomes cleaner, safer, and more enjoyable space for all. Cause. Citizens vote for stricter environmental regulations. Effect. Industries reduce Industries reduce pollution, leading to cleaner air and healthier communities. 5. This is what I want. This is very important. No cause equals no effect. The stagnation of inaction is still cause and effect. When no deliberate action is taken, no meaningful outcome occurs. Passivity breeds stagnation. Opportunities are lost when actions is neglected. Highlights the contrast between effort and complacency. Examples. Cause. A writer never starts their novel. Effect. The book remains unwritten, a mere idea unfulfilled. Cause. A farmer neglects to water their crops. Effect. The plant wither and die. So no cause equals no effect. It's still a seed at the end of the day. The seed is nothing. Guess what? What you're going to reap? Nothing. Right? This is why I said nobody is going to save you. You have to work. Right? This is why I said that if you don't go to the gym, how do you expect muscles? No cause, no effect, right? You want to realize your dream. If you do not take the steps to realize your dream, it's never going to materialize. It's never. Even no action is still a seed. That seed is laziness, complacency. It still produces the effect regardless, right? And this is why I said I wish I had known this principle before. I wish many people knew this principle before, because what cause and effect teaches you is to be diligent from day one. I wish everybody knew this, to be diligent from day one, right? So that way society would be a lot better. Society would be more equitable for everybody. Society would be, people wouldn't suffer, right? People wouldn't, what happens is a lot of people have victim mentality. They have a victim mentality, but they don't realize they themselves planted the seeds that created the conditions that they currently live in. This is why we cannot blame anybody for our lives the way it is. Now, granted, external cause and effect, the stuff that we do not have control for, can happen. That is very true. That is very true. However, despite external cause and effect, we still have agency. We still have autonomy. We still have free will. We still can plant. So it's not an excuse that just because external cause and effect is in full effect, is in progress right now, it doesn't negate the fact that you can plant your own seeds. It doesn't negate the fact that you can still work, right? So understand, no cause equals no effect, right? And that's still a seed at the end of the day. It's still an effect, but it's not your desired effect, right? It's still an effect. You're not going to get anything, right? That's the effect, but it's not the desired effect that you want. So, one cause, right? Number 6, one cause can equal multiple effects. This is a ripple effect. A single action triggering a cascade of far-reaching consequences. Small actions can generate profound and widespread impact. Effects may be positive, negative, or a mix of both. Frequently seen in social, economic, and ecological systems. Example, a factory releases toxic waste into a river. That's the cause. The effect, the fish pollution declines, disrupting ecosystems. Local communities suffer health problems. Tourism and fishing industries collapse, damaging the economy. So you can see one effect can create a multiple effects. One cause can create multiple effects, right? Cause, a government invests in free education. Effect, literacy rates rise, employment opportunities expand, crime rates decline due to improved socioeconomic conditions, right? So this is why we got to think before we act, because our actions not only affect us, but it can affect a multitude of people, right? Circular cause and effect, feedback loops. A self-perpetuating cycle where cause and effect continuously reinforce each other, creating a loop. Effects feedback into their original causes, sustaining the cycle. Can be either positive, virtuous cycle, or negative, vicious cycles, right? Breaking the cycle often requires external intervention or a shift in behavior. Examples: cause, poverty leads to poor education. Effect, limited job opportunities arise, leading back to poverty, perpetuating the cycle. Cause, deforestation reduces rainfall. Effect, less rainfall leads to more land degradation, making reforestation difficult and worsening the problem. So you can be in a feedback loop, right? Many people are in a feedback loop. They're in a vicious cycle right now where they cannot escape because the same actions that they take is producing the same effect, and it's recycling all over again, right? Some people are stuck in the same position, right? Because they've not taken different actions. Think about it. The input must match the output. If you want a specific output, if you want a specific desired effect, you have to change the input. If you do not change the input, you're going to get stuck with the same output. This is what creates the loop, right? So change your actions to get a different result. It's that simple. If you keep doing the same actions, you're going to get the same results over and over and over again. Probabilistic cause and effect, likelihood based. A type of causation where an event increases the probability of an outcome, but does not guarantee it. Effects are not deterministic, but influenced by probability. Common in fields of medicine, economics, and risk assessment. Many factors can modify the likelihood of the outcome occurring. Example, smoking increases the risk of lung cancer. Effect, not every smoker develops lung cancer, but the probability is significantly higher, right? Cause, wearing a seatbelt reduces the risk of fatal injury in a car crash. Effect, it does not guarantee survival, but it greatly improves the odds. The blunt truth of accountability. And by the way, you can pause this video at any time. Go get refreshments, go get drinks, go get food. I'm still going to be here. You can press pause, and then when you're ready to go, press play again, right? The blunt truth of accountability. Many dodge and evade responsibility, blaming others, circumstances, or fate for their plight. Yet the harsh reality is this: your current state is the result of past choices, whether made by you or for you. Ignorance of this truth does not exempt you from its consequences. Whether in this life or beyond, the effects of your actions will manifest. You cannot cheat the system. You can delay, deceive, or deny, but the pendulum always swings back. What you set in motion will return to you with equal force. Take ownership of your life, right? And what does that mean? If you understand Newton's law, right? For every action, there's a reaction, right? For every action, there's an opposite reaction, right? And this is why equivalent exchange matters. And this is why I kept on saying the input must match the output. It has to be equal or greater than the output in order for you to get the desired effect, right? You can't cheat the system. You can't half-ass it. If you put in minimal work, right, and let's say your dream requires you to sacrifice 2 years of hard work. If you put in 1 year, that dream is not going to realize. If you put in work 1.5 years, even 1 year and 11 months, you're still not going to get it because you got to put in that extra 1 month. You can't cheat the system. You can't. Whatever the output requires, you got to match it, right? Think of it like when you get a job interview. Sometimes your job requests you to have certain qualifications. You got to have it. You can't cheat the system, right? That's why we got to take ownership of our life. If you want an apple tree, and this, I know this is a very simple example, but it's a very powerful example. If you want an apple tree, you need an apple seed. And not only do you need an apple seed, but you got to water that plant consistently. You got to take care of that plant consistently until it grows to what you desire it to be. This is why you can't cheat the system. You can't half-ass the system. Now, nature is very fair. People have their biases, of course, right? People discriminate. People have biases, but even that too, they'll the people that have biases, the people that discriminate, the people that have prejudices, they too will suffer from cause and effect, right? Nature is very merit-based. Nature is a meritocracy. If you don't hunt, you're not going to eat. That lion, that predator, that jaguar, that leopard, they put in extreme amounts of work in order to catch a prey. Sometimes they fail. Sometimes they never get the prey. But they keep pushing. They keep trying again until they get the prey. Nature is very merit-based. Understand that. People, on the other hand, have their biases. But that bias is going to bite them in the butt because nobody escapes cause and effect. Right? This is why I said cause and effect is justice. It is the epitome of justice. Right? It is fair. You reap what you sow. That is the epitome of justice and balance. The effort that you put in will get you the results. That is justice and that is fair. So if you believe your life is not fair right now, you got to ask yourself, did you put in the amount of work, time, and energy to get the desired effect that you want? A lot of people want certain dreams, but you got to ask yourself, did you match the output? Did you? With the proper input? We got to ask ourselves these questions, right? We got to ask ourselves these questions. You know, it's granted, people do have their biases. People do, some people can close doors on you, which is very true. However, even with cause and effect, if you put yourself in that position, right, you will get noticed. If you put yourself out there, if you consistently grind, you will get noticed. Think about it like this. A beautiful tree produces beautiful fruits. You watered yourself. You planted yourself in the right place. You watered yourself. You took care of yourself, right? Opportunities will come. Opportunities will come. And when those opportunities do come, right, you work to the best of your abilities so that way you can garner attraction, so you can gain attraction, so that way your fruits can be visible. That way it attracts more and more people, and eventually you'll get what you want, right? People don't look at it that way. A lot of people don't think of it that way, unfortunately. But sometimes you can exceed the output, and this is how you get in. You're so undeniably good. You're so undeniably skillful. You're so undeniably intelligent. You exceed the output, right? And a lot of people want to gravitate towards you. A lot of people gravitate towards you because simply you've exceeded the output, right? The input, right? All the knowledge and skills required for you to grow and mature as a proper tree. You've exceeded the output. And I believe those people that exceed the output are those that are undeniably good. The world sees them. They are outstanding individuals, special individuals, because simply they exceed people's expectation. They exceeded their expectation. They have not only accomplished their dreams, but they're excelling and thriving, right? So take ownership of your life. Understand that every word you speak, every action you take sets a precedent. The choices you make today shape the reality you will face tomorrow. If you neglect your responsibilities, if you sow seeds of destruction, deceit, or laziness, you will reap a harvest of hardship, mistrust, and regret. Conversely, if you sow diligence, integrity, and love, your future will be abundant, filled with trust and joy. This is pure justice. There is no escape from this law, no loophole, no exemption. The universe does not play favorites. It does not reward the lazy or the deceitful, nor does it punish the diligent or truthful without cause. Right? The harvest always matches the seed. The pendulum, once set in motion, will eventually return to its starting point. Consider the profound truth in this. The life you live today is a direct result of the seeds you've planted yesterday. If you are dissatisfied, it is because of the choices you've made or failed to make. The future you desire is contingent on the seeds you plant now. There is no shortcut, no magic solution. The laws of cause and effect demand effort, consistency, mindfulness, and integrity. Right? Some may believe they can evade this truth, that they can act without consequences. But this is a dangerous fallacy. Delaying the inevitable only prolongs the suffering. The rewards or consequences of your actions are not bound by time. They will manifest, whether in this world or the next. The universe keeps a perfect ledger, and no deed goes unaccounted for. The illusion of escaping justice. Understand this. The words you speak, the actions you take, the thoughts you harbor, all are seeds. Plant wisely, for the harvest is inevitable. This is the essence of accountability, ownership, and responsibility. We are the sum of our choices, and the future is nothing more than a fruition of our choices. Embrace the truth of cause and effect. Take responsibility for your life, for your actions and inactions, for the seeds you plant. Know that justice, though sometimes delayed, is always served. The pendulum swings, the harvest comes, and in the end we reap what we have sown. When confronted with the belief that evil seems to get away with murder or theft, it's important to delve deeper into the nature of justice and the immutable laws of cause and effect. At first glance, it may appear that those who do wrong evade punishment, but this perspective is often short-sighted and incomplete. Of course, those who argue this point are mostly those who don't believe in a creator, and those who believe the universe is random and not purposeful. 1. Temporal perspective. Many people judge justice by immediate outcomes, expecting instant retribution or punishment. However, the universe operates on its own timeline, not ours. The laws of cause and effect is not bound by human impatience or limited perspective. Justice may be delayed, but is never denied. What seems like escape is often just the calm before the inevitable reckoning. 2. Internal consequences. Even if external punishment is not visible, evil actions carry intrinsic consequences. Guilt, fear, paranoia, and a restless mind are burden that weighs heavily on those who commit wrongs. The torment of living with a guilty conscience can be more punishing than any external penalty. They may escape human law, but they cannot escape their own inner turmoil. Societal collapse. Societies and systems that allow evil to thrive without accountability eventually face collapse. Corruption, greed, and injustice erode foundations of stability, leading to eventual upheaval and transformation. What seems like impunity is often a precursor to a larger reckoning. Generational impact. Evil deeds often ripple through time, affecting future generations. A person who seemingly escapes punishment in their lifetime may leave behind a legacy of suffering for their descendants. Their actions create a chain of cause and effect that continues beyond their physical life, often bringing about consequences that they never anticipated. The effects of one's actions may not confine to the individual alone, they ripple outward, impacting victims, communities, and even future generations. Divine justice. Whether one believes in divine justice or simply the natural order, actions have repercussions beyond what is immediately observable. The eventual downfall. The universe keeps a perfect balance, and the scales will tip in time. Spiritual accountability. For those who believe in life beyond death, ultimate justice may be served in the spiritual realm. The soul carries the weight of its actions into the next existence, facing the consequences of its earthly deeds in ways that are not always visible to the living. Understand this. Actions have consequences, and nobody escapes cause and effect. Nobody. And we can just measure it. I gave you many examples. You eat something, your body is going to register it, and you got to excrete it. That's cause and effect. You eat something bad, you get sick. You eat something good, you're going to get healthy. It's that simple. It's just a simple, basic cause and effect, right? You can hit yourself, right? You're going to feel that. That's cause and effect. So I'm telling you, you can't escape it at all. You cannot escape cause and effect at all. You think you're going to cheat the system. No, you cannot. You cannot. You may cheat earthly systems. You may cheat earthly governments, but you cannot cheat the cosmic governments, right? You cannot cheat spiritual justice. You can't. No way, no how. So, this world is not an accident. Your actions are not an accident, right? Sorry, the results of your life is not an accident. Everything boils down to cause and effect. So if you understand this, save yourself. Plant the seeds today, right? Work hard today. Plant the seeds today that would get you the desired effect in the future. Start planting today. Start sowing today. Start working today. So that way you can reap the benefits of your actions in the future. This is why I'm saying, save yourself. Right? Save yourself. Whatever dreams that you have, right? That's the harvest. That is the tree. But you got to plant the seed in order for your dream to become a reality. It's not mystical. There's no magic involved in this. You know, I'm not going to bullshit you and say, you know, this is manifestation. This is how you manifest. This is it. No wishful thinking. No, no prayer is going to happen. You got to work. You got to work. Prayer, what prayer does is it changes your mindset, right? It puts you in the proper mood in order for you to work, right? It changes your mood, right? It causes you to reflect, but you got to work. You got to work, right? You reap what you sow. So I hope this video was helpful. Please give me a thumbs up. Please like this video. Meditate on this video. Send this video to other people so they can understand and be free too. Send this video to boys, to men, to women, right? I want you to send this video particularly to the men, right? So they can understand that the way society is today is a direct correlation to their actions, right? These buildings, these streets did not come by wishful thinking. These buildings were a product of hard work. These roads were paved by hard work, right? And I believe this is why many men are leaving the church, right? Because the church is impotent, is powerless, because they're not teaching you these principles. They're not teaching you these principles of hard work, right? They're not teaching men these principles that their life is in their hands, right? The only thing that the Creator does is allow you to exist. That's it, right? Everything else falls upon your shoulders as a man, right? Your life is a direct result of all the actions you have taken, right? So teach this to boys, especially, so that way they won't enter into gang violence. You know, teach this principle to girls, right? Don't sleep with that guy until you're married, because having that child will set you back, cause and effect. He's not going to love you. You're going to be a single mom, right? Because he never valued you to begin with. Like this video. Please subscribe. Please subscribe.